You're adored by many, by billions.
He's starting to zoom off. I can feel his energy pulling away.
I know you kind of like feel him fading back into.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like when they're around, it almost feels like a warm blanket that's like right against my back. I feel them behind me always, like behind my back. And then when they kind of take a little bit more distance, when they kind of separate from my energy, it almost feels like a little bit of a cold chill because they're pulling that blanket away, that warm blanket.
So that's what I kept seeing. I kept seeing when he was saying, when we were talking about him or how we all see them after they die, or people like to see that, the conspiracy stuff. I kept seeing a fireplace, and how when you're cold and you sit next to a fire and then you have to walk off or the fire goes out and all of a sudden you're just sort of look cold. Yeah. And that's what it's that warmth that's gone.
Yeah.
But you always have access to it. And Elvis is a big one that likes to pop in.
He does a lot more than people think. And he's very much loved still today. So, you know. Well,
that was, I know you and I've talked about this, but I just remember the boys and I were listening to a lot of Robin Williams, and some of it's a little inappropriate, but it's just so funny and true. Yeah, exactly.
A lot of his stuff is so, he's basically just telling the truth
in such a sweet way.
I think that's, he once told me, because I've communicated to him as well, and I've interviewed Elvis too. Maybe we should redo Elvis again. It's a lot of fun, and I know you're going to go crazy. I remember talking to you know, he was talking about how, you know, you don't have to make up stuff to be funny. All you need to do is tell people the truth, and that alone is hilarious.
Yeah, our world around us, it really is funny.
It really is. Our reality, I mean, it's so screwed up that it's funny.
I know, if you can just laugh at it. Well, one day I was reading, I was in my room, I was in my bed, and I was reading before I went to sleep, and all of a sudden he popped in, and it was, I mean, I don't freak out by this stuff. And then it was sort of the beginning, so maybe I did a little bit more, but I was like, oh, holy shit. And I made him go away because I holy shitted it. And he was so funny. And he just pops in, and it was just, it's like, oh my God, he's here. Elvis does pop in. Do you remember when we were driving to New Braunfels? Mm-hmm. And I played a song that I hadn't really heard, and it was so powerful. And so I turned it on, and it's like, he's here. You're like, yep. And we both were like, yep, he's right there. He's right in the back seat sitting next to your mom.
It's so fun because I recommend people have fun with them because they love it. Mm-hmm. They love it.
And it's a higher
and it's going to help you. It's going to help you to raise your frequency. It's going to help you to get validations and to kind of get that feel of, oh my God, yeah. You know, because so many people are like, oh, you know, these people think they can just invite everyone and everybody's willing to come. But the truth is they are. Why? Because they are you. I mean, why would you not show up to your own, you know, and I know that's a hard concept to grasp, but we're all part of the same core that just kind of split off in a way, and, you know, it's not really, I don't know. It's hard
calling your mom or calling your sister.
Yeah, it's like, it's your family, you know, and it doesn't matter whether you knew him in this lifetime or you didn't. That has nothing to do with it. You know, I have had a lot of people that said, yeah, you know, I feel Michael Jackson around me all the time, or I feel Elvis around me all the time. So it's not an uncommon thing, and they just don't have that human vision of separation anymore. We're all connected, and there's this unconditional love for everyone up there, you know, if you want to look at it from up there.
From a perspective.
Yeah. In the other dimension.
And I know they do, and it's interesting to call on them if you have an issue. And it's whether it's writing or it's playing a song, or it's, you know, the inspiration. I mean, I think that the inspiration is there. And I know with Elvis, we went to Graceland, and I'd always wanted to go. And so we went, and you are like steeped in the energy. It is, his energy is still really, really strong there. And I think they do a lot to, I mean, you would think it would be diluted a bit because there's so many people. I think Graceland is second visited home to the White House every year. Over 600 and something thousand. No, wait. Yeah. Anyway, ton of people. Maybe it's million, thousand. I'm bad with numbers, but but you feel him there, and and it's not just because I like him, and I'm sure that I can connect more, and it is overwhelming. I mean, his energy is really strong, and really, I can see how being in a relationship with him would have been, because his energy was so big. It sort of like blocks out the sun, but it really did. And so, but it's fun to see where you can and I think if you're on this level, if you're on Earth, like Emma, you and me, I think you kind of have to ask before you connect. I mean, I think that there is human to human, there is an invasion that can happen. And I remember, so on the Joyride, like I would try to connect with our different folks that we would have on the show, and Jamie Butler, I couldn't connect to her. I'm like, reject. I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. You know, maybe it is an invasion. And that's when, and I told her, I said, I tried to connect. She's like, oh, honey, I'm fortress. I've got a fortress around me. You can't connect to me, unless you ask. And I'm sure she would have said yes, but I didn't. That's when I realized that you kind of have to be careful just trying to plug into everybody's socket, because it's, it is an invasion.
Yeah. Some people kind of have this kind of wall built around them. But, when I connect to Jamie, I felt like she was my sister. So, and I think that's because we are kind of very similar in
your energy
frequency. We're very connected on that. So for me, it felt very comfortable, and it's almost like we were reading minds. So it was a lot of fun for me to do that. But I don't know how it works exactly, but we do. Either way, we all connect. To everyone you meet, we connect energetically. There's an exchange of energy flow. But it doesn't mean that we always get to connect to the core being that they are, because some people really do put protection on or walls around them because they don't want that kind of energetic invasion in some way or form. So I don't know. I'm very open. I have a belief system in place that, for me, no lower vibrational energies can come in. It's just a belief system. It's a knowing. I don't feel like I need to protect myself. I don't feel like I am in danger at all, ever. So because I don't have that, I don't experience that either. And I have done house cleansings and things like that, and I have communicated to those spirits who were kind of stuck there. But I've never experienced an entity attacking me or lashing onto me, because in my mind, I see all spirits as light, whether they're stuck or not.
It's just a matter of time before you realize who you are.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. And I know that nobody can attack me unless I allow them to. So it's just not part of my belief system.
See, okay, so in that vein, last night I was reading about Jerry Jones. I think it was Jerry Jones. I think that's his name. Anyway, it was the cult, the Kool-Aid cult, temple, human temple, anyway, I'm killing it. But it is, over 900 people died. And it's basically, it was this cult in 70.
Oh, okay.
And when they talk about she drank the Kool-Aid, that's what they're talking about. And so, and he was so.
Oh, the poisoning. Wasn't there a massive poisoning? I've heard of that, but I don't know the details.
They were in Africa. They moved it over to Africa, and I mean, it was beyond a cult. I mean, like people would get in, and you couldn't leave. And so he had always wanted to do this big suicide, so he did. But I felt myself, and I realized I do this without thinking. I connect to people, and I was like, oh, I don't want to connect to him. I don't want to give him an in. And I felt that so strongly. So it's interesting that you and I are talking about this right now, because I thought I don't I don't want to connect with that. And I don't, I just, Jerry Jones, that was his name. Did I say Jim Jones? I think it's Jerry Jones. And he had Jonestown. And so I'm curious, and I have to remind myself that he can't come in. He can't, and no.
Yeah. And I think everybody needs to understand that you can't, and sometimes fear will that's an invitation.
It is.
Right there.
It is.
You know,
it's an
and
opening.
people say, well, I didn't invite them in, but you were afraid of it. You're afraid of, and the thing is, I don't like to watch a lot of these scary movies either, where it's all about hauntings and things, because I just don't want to attract it. And I don't want to, because those movies do scare me, because the music is very scary. And it's always like, I'll have a pillow in front of my face and my husband wants to watch it, or I just go upstairs. I just don't like to watch it. Because, I know that it can be very, damaging to people, but if you don't attract it and you don't have the fear for it, then it's just not going to become part of your reality. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I know it exists, but it's not part of my reality.
Right. Well, I always believe that there's seeds that you plant, and there are some seeds I don't need them. Why would I want that and to grow? When I was younger, the middle of the night, I may have read a book, or I may have watched a movie, and it's really kind of the suspense, like Amityville Horror, like those that aren't real, but they could be.
I have to say, I was looking under my bed. I was like scared, and I was like, I'm never watching a movie. But my husband loves those movies, and I'm like, I don't like them, but I watched them, and I know that stuff really happened. And I was like, ooh.
Why would you plant that seed? I mean, really, so that's a perfect example. It's like, I don't want to plant those seeds in my brain, because it's a little garden and I have to pull enough weeds out as it is. I don't want to have to pull those weeds. So,
it is. And the thing is, you have, it does happen that I go to a house where there's an entity that feels very cold and feels, that people feel very uncomfortable, that person or that spirit being there. I had one of my close friends' mother, she said, I kept feeling like there was a person crawling in my bed every night. She could literally feel the sheets move, like somebody's getting in, and the sheets would close up again. And it scared the heck out of her. And it, eventually, when I went there, I go there without fear, and I just communicate. And this person was terrified of crossing over. Always been alone, and never had any family. Died alone in that room, and he was terrified because he didn't know what was on the other side. And so he decided to stick around. And he really liked her because she's a very calm soul. Her mom was a very sweet, calm lady, and he just loved being with her. So he stuck around, and he crawled into bed with her. And but it's scary from a human perspective when you feel like, ooh, somebody crawled in bed with me every night.
So did you cross him?
I did. I crossed him, and eventually the next day he came back, and he thanked me for it, and he gave me his name. Because all at the moment when I was in the house and I was clearing everything, I was saging it, and I was, putting out these intentions, I could keep hearing in my head, oh no, I am too scared. I'm too scared. I don't want to go. What if I end up in the dark? I don't want to go. And so eventually I told him, it's going to be fine. People are waiting for you. They're waiting for you. They want you close to them again. And so eventually he crossed over, and then the next day he came back in, and he told me his name, and he said, because I kept seeing a person in a fishing outfit, and apparently he loved to fish. And he said, I was just terrified, and I couldn't do it. And I asked her mom, so any more spirits visiting you at night? And she's like, no, he's gone. And I told her what he told me the next day, and he just told her that he really liked her energy, and he was happy that he got to spend some time with her as well. And so, it was a nice goodbye. But sometimes spirits are so stuck that they they kind of relive the same thing over and over again, and it's mostly their fears that they're going to relive, and then they will kind of express that energetically, and that causes, you know, doors to open, stuff to happen, people being kind of pushed out of their home because they feel like, why are you in my house? It's just, a lot of people don't know they've crossed over, and they kind of stay in there, and they think that you're the ghost or you're the perpetrator, and they try to get you out.
There's a movie with Nicole Kidman.
Right.
Exactly what that is.
Mm-hmm.
That
really happens a lot, you know.
And they're like,
think you're penetrating my house. You know, who are you people?
And they're stuck in that.
It turns out that they just don't know that they've deceived.
Like, dude, you're the ghost. Well, I mean, that's The Sixth Sense too. Sorry if y'all haven't seen it, but it's you know, that is
spoiler.
Spoiler. But yeah, but I wonder about that. It is. So did she feel a little bit bad when she? It's like, oh, he liked me? He was just snuggling up?
No, she didn't feel bad. She was happy that the kind of peace had come back to her home. But she did say, oh, okay, well, I'll tell him that, you know, that I'm thankful that he felt safe with me, and that she could provide that for him. But she's also thankful that he went home.
It's time for you to go. You know, visitors after 3 days, you know, like fish, they start to smell bad. Well, my grandmother didn't cross for a long time because of that exact same reason. Well, not exact same reason, but because she was afraid. And so,
Fear
and I
is
saw
very
when
powerful.
and I saw when she crossed, and my grandfather was there, and then everybody was back behind him. And she turns around, she was this beautician, she was 4'8", tiny. And I mean, and so she always had her hair done. She always wore heels. She was a beautician. That's what she did. And so she's really into that. And she always, and anyway, in my memory, she's sitting there, she smoked, and she would make, you know, fried shrimp, and, you know, and I'm doing this, or her ashes don't fall into I tell that story a lot because I just love that. So I just see this beer batter shrimp, you smell it, and then the cigarette smoke, and that just takes me home. You know, I love that. It's very comforting. But so for her, she turns around and she looks at her body, and she's like, oh my God, like, really? That's what I look like? Are you kidding me? I mean, she always had her nails done and her hair done, and, you know, and so she was horrified, but she didn't let go, because she truly thought that she was, you know, she'd go to the bad place. And you know, if only, but that's a lot of, not to knock religion, because there are so many beautiful things, but that's a lot of that fear, that installed fear, you know, that control fear. And so, but she crossed, she's good.
Over time, they do eventually cross, even if it takes centuries. I mean, for them, it's not a century, you know, for them, it'll be very, you know, time is very different for them.